Okay. And we are live. All right, so week 3, and we're going to do some more clearing, and there'll be another technique there. And this one will be really, really, really good for the tendons. So if you deal with a lot of anger or tension in your tendons, like a tennis elbow, this will be a really good exercise, okay? So we'll just start warming up our body. We'll exhale, touch the chin to the chest. Inhale, lean the head back. Exhale, tuck the chin to the chest. Inhale, lean the head back. Exhale, tuck the chin to the chest. Inhale, lean the head back. And look to the left. Center, inhale to the right. Center, inhale to the left. Center, inhale to the right. Center, inhale to the left. Center, inhale to the right. Center, make a circle. Exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, and the other direction. Exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, and back up to center. Circles with the shoulders, up and in, and going back, up, and back. Good. Okay, let's give a big hug here. Exhale, tuck the chin, tuck the spine. Inhale, look up to the heavens. Exhale, tuck the chin, tuck the spine, switch the arms. Inhale, look up to the heavens. Exhale, tuck the chin, tuck the spine. Inhale, look up to the heavens. Switch arms. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And back to center. Okay, shifting from left to right. Nice little sink while we shift. Relaxing the shoulders. And up to the chest. Good. Letting everything settle. Pouring into that right leg, making big circles with the knee. And shifting back into the left leg, sinking in the left leg, making big circles with the right knee. And shifting back to the center. Good. All right. So shifting from side to side, settling in the center. All right. Now we've warmed and loosened up our body. Now we're going to do the pulling down the heavens. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Clearing the body. Inhale. Exhale. Remember to tuck the pelvis under. Keep the chin tucked. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. 3 more. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Okay. Good. Let's do 5 more. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Good. Okay. Channel dredging. So we're using the inside spleen, liver, kidney channels, running up on both sides, coming up, crossing the diaphragm, through the armpit, up above the heads, to the wrist, and throw. And then on the outsides of the arms, up the head, through the back of the neck, down the chest, down the sides, and the back of the sides, coming down, grab, and throw. So remember, when you do this, the intention is to see your fingers going into the channels, right? It's not so much of a physical sensation, but the more that you relax, the easier it is to dip into the channels. So digging into the channels, grabbing any gunk, clearing them, throwing them out. Same thing, going the other way, digging into channels, grabbing any gunk, taking them and throwing them out. Now, once you get to the top and you throw them, you want to throw them not just on the ground, but you want to take all this toxic, nasty chi and throw it deep into the center of the earth. Yeah. So here we go. One. Two. Three. Four. Five. Six. Good. Okay. Dry crying. Thumb and index finger together. And we're going to arch back and make the ha sound, ha, from the lower perineum. Okay. And back. And exhale. And up. Again. Pouring into the center of the earth, releasing the lungs. Any trapped grief coming off of the lungs. Okay. Again. Tuck the chin. Let any bit come off of the body deep into the center of the earth. And tuck the pelvis under. Roll back up. 2 more. Back. Breathe from the perineum. And down through the center of the earth. One more. And back. And down through the center of the earth. And tuck the pelvis and standing back up. Okay. Let everything rebalance and settle down. Just take a moment. Settle everything in your heels and the bottom of your feet. Relax your body. Relax your mind. Relax your abdomen. Breathing deep from the lower abdomen. Good. Remember, as we're doing these exercises, to keep your chin tucked, your tongue in the roof of your mouth, your shoulders relaxed, your elbows relaxed. Tuck your pelvis under. Allow everything to sink down with a slight bend in your knees. Don't ever want to lock the knees. I'm going to give a slight bend in the knees. And even when I'll start from this position, then when I lean back, I still want to keep this bend in my knees, okay? The structure is very, very important. Because when your bones and your structure are aligned, and you are standing on your bones, and they're stacked on top of each other, this allows the energy to naturally free flow. And but if you're too much thinking, you'll arch everything back, or you're too much living in the past, you'll fold everything in, and you'll be MLB and like Eeyore. Okay. But if you're nice and balanced, then you will stand upright. The bones will stack, and you'll let them settle on each other. And this will not only stack the bones, which requires a lot less of your body to use its muscular structure to hold itself up. But as you stack the bones, what happens is it allows everything to sink down and settle down into the bottom of the feet. And it allows the spaces and the channels to open up as you sink further and further, which means that you can actually store more energy in the lower dantian. And this will help you have a better battery, so you have a better life, okay? Happy battery, happy person, yeah? Fully charged battery, happy human, right? Happy wife, happy life, fully charged battery, happy human, yeah? Okay, so instead of using all this energy in our muscles to stand upright, we will be able to relax and let everything release so that the energy is there and present, and we can actually use this energy to regulate ourselves, our emotions, our thoughts, and to actually be able to do more in our life in a happy, joyful manner. Okay. So I'm going to teach you another exercise here. And this exercise is called the trembling horse. And the trembling horse is for releasing the liver and the tendons and all of the connective tissue. Because your connective tissue, all of the fascia and such, and your tendons are actually a part of, well, it's also connected to your liver. The fascia and the tendons, all of this, and your nervous system actually is connected to your liver. And by doing this exercise, you're going to release any tension or pent up, wound up energy that's there, and allowing you to relax even more. You see, because part of this proper posture is a relaxation and a release. And so if your muscles are relaxed, but your tendons are uptight, your body will be in this uptight position of however your tendons are developed. So maybe you have really strong tendons and you're really wound up. Maybe you have very weak, soft tendons and you're very relaxed, right? Not relaxed, but almost limp, yeah, because they don't have any strength. Okay, you're going to release any tension and you're going to align the structure. And by releasing the tension, aligning the structure, the body will naturally hold itself up and the chi will naturally sink. You will naturally be in a state of relaxation, peace, calmness. Okay, so let's talk about it. Okay, you have now one of the main places that you get a blockage of your energy doesn't flow well is at the joints. These are like big gates to allow the energy to flow through. And when you talk about martial arts, you have your first gate, your second gate, and your third gate. Well, it kind of works the other way in terms of energy and healing. See, from a martial arts perspective, they want to, from the outside, get closer to your center. So you have the first gate, you bypass that, you get to the second gate. You pin the second gate, you can more easily move the person. You get to the third gate, and it's way easier to move the person because you're attached to their center. But we want to release and allow our energy to flow from the center out. So you have a first gate, a second gate, and a third gate. Okay. Now, the nature of the way that energy flows is that you will build a stagnation in the feet first. We use our arms much more regularly. We open the cabinet, we grab the cup, we take the bowl and we pour the cereal. We work the wok and cook the food inside of the wok. Yeah, so we're stirring our stir fry with our wok. Okay. So we're constantly using our hands to grab things. Now our feet, a lot of times if we're standing in a line, people will just stand still. And you'll get a tension and a stagnation. And usually the posture is that the spine is arched backwards. So if this is the front and this is the back, the spine will arch backwards. And the head will oftentimes do the same. Not always, but but it creates a kink in the hose, right? But if you straighten it out, then everything can flow up and down. So that's why we have the rules, right? You bend the knees, you tuck the pelvis under so that the lower spine can separate a bit, yeah? But you will get this tension at the joints, will be one of their big gates, okay? So if you open the shoulder, that will help open the elbow. If you open the elbow, that will help open the wrist. If you open the wrist, that will open the hand and out the fingers. So we're going to work these gates one at a time, okay? So first I want you to do is to practice shaking, shimming from side to side, okay, like this. But the thing is that you don't shimmy from your hips, you don't shimmy from your shoulder, you don't shimmy from your elbow, you shimmy from the ankles. So you need to create a shaking within the ankles and let that shake the rest of the body. Okay, let's try it 10 times. 1. Okay, 2. Focus on shaking the ankles. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9, 10. Good. Now we're going to try to isolate shaking from the knees. So moving all of our body by keeping everything still and just shaking the knees. Just the knee, 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 just the knee. And you want to shake it as much as you can. See, the shaking releases the tendons, the fascia, the ligaments, the nervous system, the shaking, and will ultimately end up releasing the liver. Okay, this is how it releases, by shaking. Shake. We focus on the knees, to shake through the knees. This is a big pinch point. You see, because you'll get a big pinch point there, oftentimes people have a problem with their ankle, or they'll get their hip replaced. And they don't know it's because the knee and the ankle is stagnant. It's locked up. There's no chi, there's no synovial fluid, there's no blood that flows through this space, and there's no space in the joint. All the tendons and ligaments are extremely tense and tight. And it doesn't breathe. It doesn't have any oxygen, any chi, any energy. And you put weight, and then it becomes bone on bone, and the person's in pain. One of the ways that they need a hip replacement, okay? Anyway, shake the knees. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. Okay. Now we move from the hips. Okay. Just twist the hip side to side. Keep the ankle and the knee still. And just twist side to side. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. So as I explained, one of the things about doing Qigong is that we want to open the body, right? This is why we have some of the stretching in the beginning, is we want to open the body physically, energetically, and also spiritually. The more open we are, the more we can fill with light. It's the whole point. It's to fill with this loving radiance, this joy, this peace, this love, this compassion, this gratitude for life. And the more we empty, the more we can fill. The more we can do in our lives, the happier we can be, the more we can support and help others around us, because we are open and loving and free. Okay. So now you have the shoulders. We want to try and keep everything else relatively still and shimmy the shoulders, right? Like you're at the club dancing, right? All right, I'm being silly, but shimmy the shoulders back and forth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, good. Next we have the elbows. Now the thing about the shimmying is that you want to almost, you want to move it back and forth, and if you can add a rotation, that's great. Okay? So it's not like, you don't want to flail. The structure is very important. Like I say, tuck the chin, suspend the crown, tuck the pelvis under, because you're creating a sealed unit, and you want this space sealed, and that will allow all the shaking to break up the stagnation, which will free the energy and allow it to flow. Okay, so elbows. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And don't worry if it's not perfect. We're going to get a lot of practice, and by getting a lot of practice here, you will naturally loosen up and your shaking will become better. Perfection is not the key. Release and letting go will allow us to see what is and open naturally, and you'll naturally unfold into it, okay? Now the wrist, yeah? Like you're flinging something off your hands, but instead of up and down, it's a side to side, yeah? It feels a little weird when you do it like this. If you've ever done this exercise, you know that just doing one joint's a little weird. But I do this so people can understand and get the full experience here, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. Okay. So you have just see that. Yeah. Good. Okay. So you have a series from the ankles to the knees, to the hips, to the shoulders, to the elbows, to the wrist. Okay. So there's something called the 6 harmonies in the internal martial arts, Xing Yi, Tai Chi, Bai Wai Zhang. And Liu Hei is the 6 harmonies. Liu is 6 and Hei is harmonies. Liu Hei, 6 harmonies. And 3 of the 6 are about physical connections, and then the other 3 are about inside and connecting your spirit to your body and your energy and intention to your body. Well, I'm going to stick to the 3 physical since we're focused on this physical exercise that we're doing right now. So it's said that the ankles move with the wrist. So when I move my hand or my wrist, my ankle moves with it. If I pick my wrist up, then my ankle flexes. If I put my palm of my heel down and push my wrist down, then I put the heel of my foot down and push my ankle down, right? So it starts to look like this so that they move together in unison, yeah? This is Liu Hei, it's the 6 harmonies, okay? And it's this understanding that when the elbow moves, the knee moves, yeah? The knee straightens, the elbow straightens, the knee straightens. If the elbow bends, the knee bends. And there's this connection between them. So you don't only connect them from the outside, but they're connected from the inside. It means when the knee bends, the elbow bends. If the space inside the knee joint collapses, then the space inside the elbow joint collapses. If the space inside the knee joint opens and expands, then the space inside the elbow joint opens and expands. And then last, you have the shoulders and the hips, okay? So when the shoulder raises, the hip raises. When the shoulder sinks, the hip sinks. If the shoulder scoots in, the hip scoots in. The shoulder scoots out, the hip scoots out. So you start to see this connection between them. Now, even though we're going to isolate them, they still have a connection. And when you shimmy the ankles, you're helping to release the wrist. When you shimmy the knees, you're helping to release the elbows. When you shimmy the hips, you help to release the shoulders. Even though we're going to go through and isolate each one, just know that there's a connection there. So if you start to move your ankles and you feel your wrists move a little bit, it's okay. Don't worry. Like I say, don't worry about being perfect. Just do the practice. If you do the practice works. Yeah, that's all you need to do. And you will see it work, okay? So, because the results will show you. all the practices that I do are based off of results driven exercises. Um, mm, Everything has been tested through different ways. See, Qigong can be used different ways. One is for martial application, one is for healing application, and another is for spiritual application, right? And there's always ways to test these things where you develop a lot of chi for a martial application or for a energetic healing application or for spiritual. So the people that I learned from, my teachers, you know, there's a long line of testing and seeing this. Yeah. And as I say, the more you do this, the more you will see this happen in your life. You will notice the tension easing there. You'll become aware of the tension in your body, and you will understand why it's there and how it gets there. You know, it will help you to see what's there so that you understand how it gets there and what you need to do if it's there, if there's too much. Yeah. So the whole thing is, you know, you clear out first and then you fill up with this radiance, right? So we start with the clearing exercises and then we go to the tonification, yeah. Because once the body's nice and clear and empty and open, then we can put the good stuff in, right? It's like if you had a cup of drink and you go around your whole life and someone pours some Pepsi, and then they pour some orange juice, and then they pour some Sprite, and then they pour some coffee, and they pour some water, and then they found some mud, and they put some mud in there. It would be pretty gross, right? And this is how sometimes our life develops. We take, you know, other people's and the world's gunk sometimes, okay? So we have to start with ourselves first. So first we empty that out and get it clear, like nice and washed clean. No more gunk in there. Fresh new cup. We don't throw our cup away because it's a sacred cup. It keeps us going in this world. So we clear it, empty it, and then we can fill it with this fresh, clean water. And then we can, you know, make sure the water is not too high and it's at a good level and it's not too low. We put just the right amount of water. We can balance. If we put too much water in, we can let some out, you know, or we put a little bit of water in and it's not enough. We can put a little more. We can regulate, you know. So let's do this exercise together. We're going to go ankles, knees, hips, shoulders, elbows, wrists. Okay. So first, number one, ready? Ankles, knees, hips, shoulders, elbows, wrists. Okay. So all the gunk comes up and you let it out. The trembling horse is the name of this exercise. Okay. Ankles, knees, hips, shoulders, elbows, wrists. Okay, let it out. Ankles, knees, hips, shoulders, elbows, wrists. Ankles, knees, hips, shoulders, elbows, wrists. Ankles, knees, hips, shoulders, elbows, wrists. One more. Ankles, knees, hips, shoulders, elbows, wrists. Again, ankles, knees, hips, shoulders, elbows, wrists. One more. Ankles, knees, hips, shoulders, elbows, wrists. Good. And then you're a tired horse. No, just kidding. But your nervous system and your tendons and your ligaments, your fascia will be a lot more relaxed and loose, free. You'll have this certain kind of freedom in your joints, a lot more than you did before. Whereas before you might have had a real tight wrist, you know, especially on the side of the pinky finger gets tight for a lot of people, and now you'll feel like it's very loose. You know, you can. What do the kids do? I don't know. They like snap their fingers, right? And but it's like you can shake it off, right? Nice and loose. Okay, good. So that's called the trembling horse, and probably like the channel dredging. About 6 of those is plenty. If you can stand it or you need it, 10's good. But for most people, 6 is a really good place to start. Okay. So next we will do our standing meditation here. Okay. And so we stand shoulder width apart. We want to tuck our pelvis, align our knees over the center of our feet. Relax our shoulders, relax our elbows, tuck our chin slightly. We push our head up to the ceiling and elongate the spine this way, yeah. We want to relax our chest and allow everything to sink down into the abdomen. And slightly raise our hands to our heart center. It's summertime, we can always use this. And we're just going to stand and breathe. Go ahead and close your eyes. Eyes closed. Tuck your chin, suspend the crown, sink the shoulders, sink the elbows. Reaching through the fingertips, open the palms. Relax the chest. Sink the scapula down and out. Tuck the pelvis under. Relax the waist, slight bend in the knees, allowing everything to sink. Breathing deep in the abdomen. Let's just hold this. Tuck the chin, suspend the crown, sink the shoulders, make the elbows heavy, reach to the fingertips, open the center of the palms. Relax the chest, let it sink into the abdomen. Sink the scapula down and out. Tuck the pelvis under. Relaxing the waist, letting everything sink into the bottom of the feet. Now see like butter in a skillet. Any tension on the forehead, melting down the forehead, around the eyes, the cheeks, the jaw, from the throat, the chest, the abdomen, under the thighs, knees, shins, ankles, tops of the feet, into the center of the foot, down deep into the center of the earth. Now check your structure. Tuck the chin, suspend the crown, sink the shoulders, sink the elbows, relax the chest, sink the scapula, relax the waist, tuck the pelvis under, and like butter in a skillet melting, down the back of the head, the back of the neck, the back of the arms, to the fingers, the upper back, the middle back, down the lower back, the buttocks, backs of the thighs, backs of the knees, backs of the calves, backs of the heels, bottom of the feet to the center of the foot, deep in the center of the earth. Now, through the center of the body, from the top of the head, through the center of the head, throat, the chest, the upper arms, into the forearms, into the hands, through the fingers, through the center of the chest, the diaphragm, the abdomen, the pelvis, the femur bones, the knees, the shins, the ankles, through the feet, center of the feet, down deep into the center of the earth. Like butter melting through your body, relaxing the body. Tuck the chin, suspend the crown. Sink the shoulders, sink the elbows, reach to the fingertips, open the palms. Let the scapula sink and drop. Tuck the pelvis under. Relaxing the chest, relaxing the waist, elongating the spine from head to the bottom of the sacrum. Feel as if there's a heavy ball attached to the bottom of the sacrum, sinking deep into the center of the earth. Tucking the pelvis under. Relaxing through the body. Relaxing the structure. Breathing deep in the abdomen. Begin to feel the space where your humerus connects to the shoulder. And breathe into this space. Feel the space expand and contract. Expand and contract. Expand and contract. Breathing into the elbows. Feel the space expand and contract. Expand and contract. Expand and contract. Breathing into the wrist. Feeling the space expand and contract. Expand and contract. Breathing into the hands. Space between the bones and the hands. Feeling the space expand and contract. Expand and contract. Feeling where the scapula connects to the rib cage. And breathe in, feeling the space expand and contract. Expand and contract. Expand and contract. Feeling where the femur connects into the pelvis. Feeling the space expand and contract. Expand and contract. Expand and contract. Down into the knees, feeling the space between the tibia, the fibula, and the femur, where they're connected by the patella. Feeling the space expand and contract. Expand and contract. Expand and contract. Down into the ankles. Feel the space between the metatarsals and the feet, connecting to the tibia and the fibula. Feel the space expand and contract. Expand and contract. Expand and contract. Down to the metatarsals of the feet and feeling the space between the metatarsals and the feet. Expand and contract. Expand and contract. Expand and contract. Good. Now starting from the top of the head at C1, feeling the space between the skull and C1, expand and contract. expand and contract. From C1 to C2, expand and contract, expand and contract. C2 to C3, expand and contract, expand and contract. C3 to C4, expand and contract, expand and contract. C4 to C5, expand and contract, expand and contract. C5 to T1, expand and contract, expand and contract. T1 to T2, expand and contract, expand and contract. T2 to T3, expand and contract, expand and contract. T3 to T4, expand and contract, expand and contract. T4 to T5, expand and contract, expand and contract. T5 to T6, expand and contract, expand and contract. T6 to T7, expand and contract, expand and contract. T7 to T8, expand and contract, expand and contract. T8 to T9, expand and contract, expand and contract. T9 to T10, expand and contract, expand and contract. T10 to T11, expand and contract, expand and contract. T11 to T12, expand and contract, expand and contract. T12 to L1, now you're in the space of the lumbar and the lower back. Expand and contract, expand and contract. L1 to L2, expand and contract, expand and contract. L2 to L3, expand and contract, expand and contract. L3 to L4, expand and contract, expand and contract. L4 to L5, expand and contract, expand and contract. Into the sacrum, expand and contract, expand and contract. Good. Now settle everything into the lower dantian, relaxing, breathing deep in the lower dantian. Tuck the chin, suspend the crown, sink the shoulders, sink the elbows, reach to the fingertips, open the center of the palms. Relax the chest, sink the scapula, relax the waist and the abdomen, tuck the pelvis under, letting everything sink into the bottom of the feet. Okay, slowly let the hands settle. Now inhale, exhale through the center, seal in the lower abdomen. Inhale, exhale through the center, and seal in the lower abdomen. One more. Inhale, exhale through the center, and seal in the lower abdomen. Good. Okay. So about 15 minutes roughly there of standing. So I want to warm it up and work you up to a little more. We'll start doing this 15 minutes on a regular basis and kind of seeing how that goes for you. Warming you up into that until we can do 20 minutes, maybe even longer, right? And we dissolve through the body today, and we also put some space within the joints, the spine, the shoulders, the elbows, the wrists, and the hands, right? So your body should be feeling good and rather loose, yeah? Okay. And as always, I say that, things may come to the surface when you do Qigong as part of releasing. Some things that you don't necessarily need may come up to the surface. Things that are being held on to that you don't need may come up to the surface. So It's okay, that's pretty normal. But I advise that you hydrate. In fact, let's grab a sip of water now. I always advise that you hydrate. Water's great. Coconut water is phenomenal. Yeah. Um, Things might come up. That's pretty normal. If they do, you know, sit in it and try to understand why it's there. How did you get there? And what led you there? And what do you need to learn from that experience? Good or bad, having experience is just an experience. And there's always something that we can gather from it. If it's good and we enjoy it, well, great. Maybe we can do some more of it. If it's bad, we can understand why it's there and, what did we need to learn from that bad experience. If we are, for example, working 24/7, we don't sleep very much because we're so wound up. Um, well, not sleeping, being tired, exhausted, stressed out, all these things are not really what you would call a good experience in life. But they may be there to allow you to learn that your health is important and your uh, maintaining your system is extremely important. And, overworking is bad for your health. You may need to learn to put up some more boundaries about how much you work. Yeah, I'm going to use that as an example. Because in America, especially in corporate America, we run into that problem. People are just exhausted and spent, stressed out, and they just keep going and going and going. Um, and they feel this duty and this responsibility and all of this, and it's like, like all this work's going to be there the next day. But it's these demands and get it done, and like it's very much out of the rhythm of like natural nature. Um, we are people, and we also need rest. Yeah, it's great to be productive, but we also need rest. It's immensely important. And when I say rest, I don't mean anxious, disturbed sleep. I mean quality, quiescent sleep when your spirit and your soul is relaxed and you go into a nice deep sleep. That's the kind of sleep I mean. Because, you're sleeping 8 hours, but restlessly, tossing and turning, your body doesn't recharge and heal the way that it needs to. So quality sleep is very important. Even just downtime, time that you just sit around and do nothing, or even, dare I say, mindlessly scroll. I'm not advocating that you just like waste your whole life on Instagram or Facebook. What I'm saying is this downtime, sitting, listening to the birds, going to the park, and just looking at the sunset, like this is pivotal for our health. And we don't often practice like that in America, but downtime is actually really extremely important. You will notice a lot of cultures have this, and other cultures, they have their 2 hour siesta after lunch in Spain, right? Latin America is the same way. It's just this. The downtime is important. We have rhythms, and just like nature has a rhythm, and you may be able to push past the limits for 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, but eventually, if you don't stop and just breathe, it'll catch up to you. Okay. And maybe when you're 20, you can go all the time and sleep recklessly. But as you start to get a little older, it's wiser to just, put some pauses in there. And that, because that downtime is a way to shut everything off and just center and come back and gather your energy. So rest and relaxation is something I highly recommend, as well as, nutrition, your diet, eating a healthy diet, hydrating, 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 hydrating. So the best thing that you can do is rest and relax, rest and relax, rest and relax. And if you can walk through a stressful event in a fashion that is restful and relaxed, well, now you're onto something, okay? I'm not necessarily telling you to be dumb. I'm just saying if you can relax under duress, that's going to do a lot for your system. So it's summertime, and because of the warmth and our blood is moving and mobile and going and going and going, and that's a really good thing. Our bodies will have a certain level of comfort needs that they may not have in the wintertime, because the cold will cause energy to clump up and sort of stagnate. And then, you may feel a pain, right? But the thing about the summer is because it's hot, you can overheat and easily do too much. So, especially now is the time to take your breather. And if you're a social person, then a good way to take your breather may be being social with friends in the afternoon when the sun sets and it's not so hot. Getting together, eating a meal and just talking, conversing. Um, because it's going to get warmer. Here in New Orleans, it's extremely hot. And we are also humid. Okay. So the heat rises, people deal with a lot of anger and stuff. And when you act too fast on something and you make decisions rashly or under stress, it's easy for people to have meltdowns and blow up. So, again, I'm just going to advise you to slow down, dial back, converse, hang out with a couple friends, and just relax a little bit, okay? After your qigong, of course. So I think that's really all I got for today. This has been a pleasure. We're going to add a few more exercises that are clearing, and then we'll get to the tonification process. So right now, enjoy the clearing, journal, hydrate. Coconut water is amazing, and take some downtime, okay? Enjoy your day.